Yo, yo, yo. Welcome, welcome, welcome. We are Grown A Geeks, and tonight we're going to do something a little different. We're going to run through a couple of series and do a review on multiple series. We're going to cover Avatar, the live action Avatar on Netflix. We're going to be talking about My Adventures with Superman as they're getting to about the midway point in their season, and X-Men 97. They've got 9 episodes lined up, and I think episode 5 just dropped today. So we're right at the halfway mark for that one as well. Joining me tonight, my man, as always, Jeffrey JPNT17. What's going on with you, man?
What's up, man?
I've been busy, man. We had a lot going on. I've been busy. You've been busy. It's been crazy,
Yeah.
right? But we are here today, and we're gonna get into some things. We're gonna get to talking about it. I am interested to actually discuss and talk about My Adventures with Superman. I mean, obviously, I'm obviously always excited to talk about Superman, but this one in particular because this is a very interesting show. And as a Superman fan, I have mixed feelings about it because I really like the show, but it pisses me off every time I watch it. And I think the biggest thing is this is an Elseworlds show. They've never stated that it's an Elseworlds show, but this is absolutely 100% an Elseworlds. And not just because James Gunn is trying to make his everything canonical, but even the way they handle their own characters, their own lore, they just do whatever the hell they want to do on this show. And it's equal parts great because it breathes some new life into it where it doesn't feel like it's just the same old, same old. And yet, you messing with stuff I know and expect. And I be seeing things and it's not what I expect or what I know. And it's a little jarring at times. Not a problem per se, but it's just throws you off because you're thinking this is what they're gonna do, or that's what they're gonna say, or this is how it is. And it don't be like that. We're in the what is this, the 3rd season now? And
Yeah.
and it is, like I said, I think it's a great show. But they're telling a different story. They're not telling the traditional. There's some elements that are very familiar. Ma and Pa Kent and Ma and Pa Kent look like hippies. First of all, that's they just every time we see Ma and Pa Kent, they're getting younger and younger and younger. Pretty soon they gonna have a whole Aunt May treatment, and we gonna have like a full on Superboy, and it's like Pa Kent gonna be like maybe 10 years older. You know what I'm saying? Superman gonna crash down and already be an adult or something. And I wouldn't be shocked if we got there. But what's happening, Roger rerun? What's happening there? And so every time I watch the episode, there's little things, and some of the clues are going to be in the way they label the characters and or not the characters, but the way they label the titles of the episodes. Because this most recent episode was called "The Death of Superman." Ain't no doomsday, but we doing the death of Superman. Okay. It kind of worked. And like literally just the way the episode played out, it's still, if you were not beholden to the canonical lore that would be the death of Superman, bro was about like he was about to eat it. Cyborg Superman, Hank Henshaw was putting the things on him, and yeah. So this is just the way they're telling these stories. There's actually stakes for a change with Superman, and it's not just strongman punch hard. And that's the part of it that I love, because I think the storytelling parts of it are doing a phenomenal job. It's that Elseworlds aspect that still just catches me off guard, and I'm getting used to that, because they are just doing what they wanted. Brainiac is Kara's father, adoptive father. It's just like everything is all jumbled up. And so it's like, this is one of those times where you can appreciate this. I have no choice but to just watch what they show, because I don't know what they're doing. I don't know what this show is. I don't have any reference. I might get an Easter egg here or there, but it's the thing I hate is what makes the show so great. And I have to admit that it does a fantastic job of keeping my attention, because I don't know what's coming next.
Yeah, I think we've lived in this era of like so much of the discourse being, did they do this right? And what is the source material for which we will hold the creators of this movie to determine whether or not they did it right? And I think this show in particular is one that's more focused on making something people can enjoy. And I think, and I mean, we're not talking about X-Men yet, but one of the comments that I saw about X-Men, because X-Men the 97 is kind of doing the same thing where they're telling some stories, but they're not telling them 100% true to the source material. And the reality is, the thing that people like about comics, yes, we like stories, but the reason why we like stories is because of what they reveal about the characters. We're here for the characters, and I think anytime I've seen someone not be successful with a an adaptation of a comic character, it's been less about how true to the comic source material they were, and more about how true they were to the spirit of the characters that they were representing.
Yeah.
So like that's why we can accept a 6'1" Hugh Jackman, because he's true to the spirit of what you would expect from a Wolverine. As bad as the Snyderverse was for me personally, I can admit that outside of him snapping Zod's neck, what we saw from Henry Cavill was very true to the character of Superman. Some of the storytelling things around it, not in terms of true to a specific story, but true to, I wasn't really a fan of
What
them
you
getting rid
expect
of
of.
the right. And this is going to be hypocritical because the way that they got rid of the Superman Clark Lois love triangle in this, I have accepted way more than what happened in the Snyderverse. Oh, you're just a reporter and you figured it out, and you know
Yeah.
what I mean. So I feel like I understand where you're coming from because it's just kind of like you have to just kind of watch. But I think the fact that at no point have you, especially with what you know about Superman, felt like this is not how Superman would handle this scenario, even though this character is not exactly the same and these characters are not interacting maybe the way that we would expect based off of whatever canonical run that we cobbled together through the history of Superman since what, 1939 or something like that.
Right.
It's like this is a opportunity to create a world that is interesting, is different, has
Yeah.
its own feel, but is true to the characters. But what if there was a world where Jimmy, Lois, and Superman and Kara just all knew about each other? How would that go? You know what I mean? I
Right.
think, and I think they're not shoving anything down our throats. I think that I haven't seen anything that doesn't make sense. I haven't,
Yeah. Yeah.
I haven't not enjoyed watching the show. I think the writing I think the writing in season two, I don't even remember if we talked about season two. I think the writing in season two, especially like the whole Kara story arc and some of
Yeah.
them soliloquies and speeches they was giving to each other, have been really, really good. Now that we're in full fledged time travel, I'm curious because motherfuckers always jump to time travel and then they paint themselves into a corner sometimes, and then you got
Yeah.
all the people online pointing out the paradoxes and, well, what if they just, I mean, again, something else X-Men 97 is going through. Everybody trying to do time travel, and it's not easy.
It's fun. I spent at least 20 minutes irritating my wife trying to put together John Kent, John Lane. I was trying to remember what Professor Hulk said, that the the past isn't your past, your past is your present. And if you go back in the past and you change something, that present is now your new past. I was like, wait, okay, because if he, and of course the first thing came to mind is like I was very aware that this had a lot of like, as we talk about shows that have like the anime inspiration, My Adventures with Superman has very, very clear anime inspiration, right down to like the Go Beyond. My boy went Super Saiyan. I was like, hey, wait, what? Okay, come on. But the way they did it again, very, I like it. It makes sense. And honestly, it feels more practical for the character for that to be how he would lose his powers. That would be the way. Um, and so,
And it's like, man, let's be real. He getting them back. Like,
of course,
I'm not playing this game. You know what I'm saying? We did this to X-Men 97, and it was like sad and devastating how Rogue lost her powers. But I also think that that show had it was showing us that there are stakes because people
right?
also die on that show, and I think My Adventures with Superman is still a little more like bright and optimistic
Yeah, yeah,
in its resolutions of things. So it's like we're not gonna have like a whole arc where Kara is freaking out about the future, and then like I'm if they do that, I'm gonna tell you this. That's how you ruin the show. You
yeah.
trying to
But
get cute and Superman no Superman.
it was History of Trunks. Anybody who's ever watched Dragon Ball Z, History of Trunks, that's what we were watching. Where Trunks shows up, he's talking to Vegeta and Bulma, but she doesn't know that's her kid. You know what I'm saying? Now he jumped right out. Hey, mom. Hey, dad. So that was like, wait, what? And by the end of the episode, the fact that they're like so proud of their son, but then it was also like, I'm trying to reconcile with the fact that, okay, so Hank Henshaw is Metallo, is Cyborg Superman. Okay. John Kent is Superman in the future and in comics and is canonically their son, but is very much pulling off Superboy right here. We've
Yep.
already had Steel show up. And I feel like with the Kryptonian robot talking to him, and it's like obviously something that's where we're gonna see the Eradicator show up, because it's gonna be whatever the Kryptonian robot was like. No, you gonna acknowledge, okay, go ahead. So they gonna like bring their own, and that's the reign of the Superman story arc right there, which took place right after Death of Superman. So the way they're kind of jumbling everything, it's really like cherry picking all the good parts. Take all the good, reshape that, and present it, and it's like, okay, can't even be mad at that. It's these are the parts I like. How you give me Oreo with just cream? I thought I needed cookie. I guess we good with just the sweet spot, and that's what they did. They found the sweet spot in this show, and they're just leaning on it. Because yeah, I'm not worried about whether or not Superman's going to have his powers. They're they'll be back, and they'll be back pretty quick. I give it like maybe one full episode of no powers, and 2 episodes from now he will be powered up again. And I do think that's where we're going to see the Eradicator. I think that's where that's going to come into play.
I don't even know what that is. I don't even want to know what it is because I'm just enjoying whatever they put in front of me.
Right. And I mean, like I said, I cannot help but to try to understand what they are doing, but I have no choice but to just accept what they give me because the way they're jumping around, there is no existing story for this. And so like they can literally just jump in, grab whatever they want and put it in the show. And cool. That's what this is now. And that's why I say it's very much Elseworlds. It's definitely an Elseworlds story. Um, but it's a good one. You know what I'm saying? And I like the way this is being done. I like the way this story is being told. I like these characters. There are some parts that like the fact that Kara, even in her casual form, is just like very obviously Supergirl.
Well,
But
because they know it's her, because that's how she introduced herself to the world in this one, right? Like
right,
she introduces herself as Kara, not like traditionally or like on the CW show where she shows up in costume, does a good deed, and flies away in secret. It's like
right.
there's no hiding. You're introduced as Superman's cousin, and I feel like part of that is like interesting. It makes it more interesting. I
Yeah,
feel like the secret identity hiding people can't find out. Just I think showing a variety of ways of how heroes can exist because Marvel just did a whole movie universe where everybody knew who everybody was except Spider-Man,
yeah,
and it wasn't no problem. So this
not at all.
whole they can never find out thing that y'all got going on, that could be like a couple people thing. That could be Batman's thing. Because the villains he fighting are like truly, but it's like Lex Luthor already knows who you are, Clark Kent,
Yeah,
and if he wanted to hurt Mom, Pa Kent, and Lois and Jimmy and whoever the hell else, he would be doing
exactly.
that. So even just abandoning that trope, I think was just like I think they're just making choices. I'm of the mindset now. I'm not calling nothing else Elseworlds tale. Everything is an Elseworld tale for me. But that's maybe because I'm not an avid comic reader. I'm more of a graphic novel reader anyway. So
Right.
give me a concise world where I understand what's happening here based off of what I see here
Yeah.
versus
Yeah.
trying to, do the thing we've always talked about where it's like, oh, I gotta have a lower level associate degree in comic book history to patch together the holes in this thing that you're making
right.
when
Right. And
don't expect me to like I'm not it's like when somebody invites you over and say like I'm gonna cook for you. I know like yes I could bring something, that would be the nice thing to do, but if I don't, you invited me, you asked me, you told me you was gonna make some food for me, so if I come with nothing in my hand,
because you
I
said
yeah, the meal I just, you know what I'm saying, I just feel like I'm so much more attuned to that because of the Snyderverse experience that anytime I see someone building their own world or lore, like even that's why I like the Matt Reeves Batman thing. It's not bothering me because everything happening there makes sense. It's gonna become confusing. I think the movie is interesting. The movie keeps getting pushed back because I think they're trying to figure out how to make this the Batman for
yeah.
James. Like somebody arguing with somebody about this need to be your Batman, and maybe James Gunn don't want that. I don't see him wanting that. I don't see Matt Reeves wanting to hand that over and let James Gunn do some goofy ass needle drop with his Batman. Like we playing Nirvana, boy. We playing Nine Inch Nails, boy.
Right.
That's what we beating up people to.
Right.
Don't come over here trying to hit me with no weird Batman fighting a Bobby Brown, my prerogative.
and
Like
the
I
funny part, like, yeah. it would definitely be whatever
Cause that,
song would be playing would pull me out of the moment and be like, what is that? Okay.
bro, that needle drop from Mr. Terrific pissed me off so bad. I'm just like, you trying so hard, bro. I don't even know what song this is, but I know ain't
Yeah.
no nigga finna turn it on to go fight people.
Nah.
And I get it. My dog couldn't say nothing because they already got him up out of here in one movie franchise. You got to take what you can get and be grateful. But James Gunn, you had my boy looking crazy.
And I mean, there was so many options. So many options.
So many better options. And the funny thing is like that's why when we was talking about the milestone universe being attached to DC, and I was just like, it can't be James Gunn helming that. Like somebody has to helm that because you got all the needle drops right in Guardians of the Galaxy because you're like a niche white boy telling a niche white boy story, right? So I get that. I get you would be able to cobble together a mixtape that a middle aged mom would give to her son on her deathbed in 1985. Like that's right in your wheelhouse, right?
And that was a great
Now,
that was a
now
great
are
selection.
yes, but now are you the guy who I want to put together Virgil's "On My Way to School" playlist that he's listening to? Do I want Virgil? You know what I'm saying? So it's like I don't
Yeah.
know if you know. So yeah, My Adventures of Superman, solid show. Enjoying it a lot. Definitely going to keep watching it. Very interested in how they're going to handle time travel.
Yeah. I'm
Because that's also not really a Superman thing.
well, it different parts of it. And see, and that's honestly one of the big issues that I think DC Comics as a whole had for a long time. And even Marvel has suffered from it from time to time. But like, you have Adventures of Superman, you have Man of Steel, you have like five or six different comics, each featuring a character, and they're not connected to one another. So the events that happen in this comic line aren't the events that happen in that comic line. And that's, of course, I mean, that's most people understand the concept of canon from that. So, generally speaking, it is Kara, it is Supergirl who goes to the Legion of Superheroes
Yeah,
in the future. That's
yeah, for
usually
sure.
that's usually where that is. So having time travel in a show that has Supergirl isn't the craziest thing. And even if she ends up like, she's got that kind of fish out of water aspect that's happening currently, she finds herself in a future world as a hero there. Wouldn't blow my mind. I would, again, that would be something I can be on board with and accept because that's kind of what I'm expecting. But at this point, I don't even know that they're going to do that because that would be what we expect. And you want to make sure that they're shaking it up at all times. So I don't know. But like you said, it's generally speaking, it is not Superman who does time travel. We have it the one time in the movie where he like made the earth turn around so Lois didn't die in the car earthquake. Um, and outside of that, it's not him that does it. It's typically Flash who, breaks the timeline and be running through the Speed Force and just pop out somewhere.
Yeah.
Superman doesn't have Speed Force and normally doesn't do a lot of like time travel stories. So a little unique here. Like I said, this was very Dragon Ball Z inspired in my opinion. Gave some whole history of trucks, seeing an older Kara who raised John, and that was something that like,
I mean, this is also Cable too. It's like
yeah,
there's
it
so
is.
it's just a lot of like go back in time, and it's like don't go back in time and affect anything that could make you not be born. Cool. The first thing I'm gonna do is go fucking see my parents. I mean, it's Back to the Future.
Yeah.
It's everything, you know what I mean? And so I feel like
But see, even with that, this is what threw me off. And I'm not gonna harp on this for too long, but it was bothering me, and I just want to get a second opinion to make sure I'm not tripping. He shows up because he's got to save his dad, got to save Clark from dying at the hands of Cyborg Superman. It showed in his mental flashback. Now, maybe Kryptonian babies is like special and they have better memories. Auntie Kara was holding a baby. I'll even give him a toddler. She raised him.
mhm,
He then grew up. He
okay.
was not there when they were fighting Hank. When they were fight when Clark was fighting this cyborg Superman, this event took place a lot earlier than it was supposed to.
Yeah.
So that right there tells me that this is already an alternate timeline, an alternate universe. We're already in a branch.
Yeah. Well, because him coming back in time is what accelerated things because he was like the fact that he had a child and a family is what really set him over the edge and made him like go ballistic and lose it because he was never going to be able to have one. And his whole thing was like, you got accepted, I'm not accepted. You basically you in my spot. I should have what you have. All the and people should be hating you because you're an alien who was sent here to conquer us. And even though you're not doing it now, like I'm from
Is
here. You know what I'm saying? It's like
yeah,
Isaiah Thomas and Michael Jordan. Like Chicago loved Michael Jordan. Isaiah Thomas from Chicago. But Chicago loved Michael Jordan. Because Isaiah Thomas is from there and he did what he did, but they Bulls fans. And they might love you, Isaiah, but Jordan gave them something that you didn't give them.
yeah.
And it just is what it is. You know what I mean? And some people can accept that and some people can't. And you can't just learn how to accept it, then you don't get on the dream team. Because just like all those other people with superpowers, Superman powers, became Superman allies, Kara, Superboy, Steel, like we've seen them already at this point. You could have also taken that route too, and you chose not to. You
Yeah.
chose to try to supplant him, and a lot of that is probably programming as well, because anything created by Lex Luthor is not to be trusted. But
True.
you still, you didn't even have the "I'm overriding my program with empathy" moment that usually you might see in a story like that. So I think I'm most interested in how is this going to not be Cable, because what I'm starting to see now is, are we yo-yoing in time trying to figure out how to create the best future, and then, well, if we do this then that means we'll never have Jonathan, but the future we have, you know what I mean? Like, I think this show has stayed away from some of that melodrama and hasn't drawn it out as much as some other ones, and so that's why I've been like enjoying it. But I feel like I don't know how I'm gonna feel about the time yo-yo thing the more I think about it.
Yeah.
But I also am
It's
just like, y'all haven't really steered me wrong so far, so I don't have no reason to like doubt you. I'm not going in with crossed arms, you know,
yeah.
like you. I'm not treating you like you Cynthia Erivo. I'm gonna give you an opportunity.
We will at least hear you out and see what you got to say. No, that's fair. And like I said, it's all the stuff that I dislike about the show are actually the things that make the show fantastic. And it's what makes me tune in every week and I'm excited. And my wife loves the show. And so I don't have to twist no arms to get her to watch. And that's always a plus. And like, you know, sits through multiple episodes when necessary. It's a great show. It's a great show. And season 3, I hope that they continue on. like you said, I'm curious to see what story they're building up to. Where do they? I'm
Yeah.
still cool with just like the random, because at first it was like all the tech got loose and they were kind of doing like it's funny you mentioned Milestone earlier, and it was like it wasn't so much that they were bang babies, but everybody got like some random tech that they found, and that was the way they were introducing all these random
Mm-hmm.
supervillains. And I was like, okay, that's a creative way to do that, and that feels very Spider-Man ish, and so it's like now that's a familiar way to do it, and it's we're comfortable with that. Cool, and we come in pretty quickly, understanding we ain't got to do no kind of introductions. We know exactly who this is and how it works. Like you said, the fact that they skipped right past the whole secret identity. Let's just move on. And the fact everybody was so casual, like, yeah, dude, you're Superman. I mean, like, I lived with you for a year. You think I didn't figure that out? I'm insulted you thought that I didn't know. That
Right.
was like, that was great for Jimmy. I think and of course, even that character, they're doing a lot with Jimmy Olsen.
Yeah.
Both in the movie, they did a lot with him, and the show is doing phenomenal with him because he's an interesting character in the show. The movie is still kind of like, oh, that's cool. That was different. All right. But I
Yeah.
like I like the show, Jimmy.
I feel like neurotic, like nerdy, stumbled upon wealth Jimmy works more than this guy's a player, but he shouldn't be. Ha ha ha. Like,
Yeah.
for me, that is like, why is that the story? Like, show us, show like that's I don't know why. Yeah, right. Okay, we about to watch a show about a nigga taking pictures.
They're
Like this one,
hoping.
no, no. See, this one I was saying before, back when we first started talking about James Gunn's lineup, his weird like choices that he be making in terms of how he, like, what
The
this
moves he
motherfucker,
makes.
this motherfucker better be taking a picture of a new Justice League member every week,
Yeah.
or I'm out. I'm out, James. I'm not
Yeah.
defending you no more.
Even what happens to Jimmy on the animated show works out better because
Yeah,
at least he runs into problems like he got spikes coming out his face. He's running into supervillains. He's having adventures. And he's the kind of guy that would need a super watch to call Superman to save him because he's getting into shenanigans.
right.
Yeah, Jimmy Olsen, Gorilla Grodd. I okay. We'll
It's like,
see.
hey, bro, you need to start. You see all these characters we got with man on the end or woman on the end. You need to get into some of that.
Yeah.
I know we
No,
got
he's
lanterns coming up. Cool. All right. But like the Jimmy Olsen show, the Gorilla Grodd show, that weird Nazi season of Peacemaker, I'm just at a point where I'm like, bro, you you ever have been helping your kid with homework, and it's like you're overthinking the answer. Like the answer is really really simple, but
right there.
because you didn't get it right away, you think the answer is more complicated. And it's like, okay, yes, I get you're the guy who did Guardians of the Galaxy, right? You're the guy who
Everything don't
did
have to be Guardians.
the whole universe. Like that's why they didn't. They tried to do more of the weird. Nobody knew who the Eternals were. As soon as and it wasn't handled in the same way. So
Yeah.
as much as people want to try to pretend now like that movie was good and they enjoyed it, maybe looking back on it with what you know now, you might like it more. Maybe it is a kind of movie where you got to see it more than once or twice, but it did not captivate people like a lot of the other Marvel movies did. And that's okay because that is a movie where that's a cast of characters where it's okay if that didn't succeed. You shouldn't have been banking like the whole phase whatever of Marvel on the Eternals.
Yeah.
You didn't bank the whole phase of whenever Guardians came out on Guardians. If Guardians 1 would have came out and flopped, it wouldn't have affected the whole MCU because it was so disconnected from everything anyway that it wouldn't have mattered. It would have just been that weird Marvel movie that 20 years later our kids would have been like, this one's kind of funny. The music's kind of
Right.
cool, but the movie was actually good. And so now you smelling your own, you know what, and you feeling like, well, I can shine it. I can shine any pile of shit and turn it into gold.
Yeah.
And brother,
Clearly you can't, because
some of that shit is whatever
yeah.
that stuff that's going on now with the lettuce.
Yeah,
So
I'm glad that they haven't made any real. I see his name in the credits, but I'm glad they haven't really
wait, what Mark
altered.
say? It's a show with so Jimmy Olsen and Gorilla Grodd hanging out on the show.
Yeah, well, there it is. Yeah, they're both going to be in that show. It's not a separate Gorilla Grodd show.
And who else is in this show?
I mean, this could be the way, like you said, it could be the way that they introduce various characters and have some little cameo drop-ins for people.
Man, do you believe that?
Because Gorilla Grodd, the first thing that comes to mind when I think of Gorilla Grodd, I think of Flash. I don't put Gorilla Grodd as anything to do
Superman
with,
villain?
yeah. Well, I'd say anything to do with Superman, and even less to do with damn Jimmy Olsen. So maybe Jimmy's on location, Central City.
Man, what the fuck is Jimmy Olsen doing with Gorilla Grodd with nobody with superpowers nearby? Gorilla had Jimmy Olsen. I need you to only you can tell my story. What?
He's not even a full reporter. He's a photographer. So, you know, I don't. That's one of those like wait and see situations. I'm not even trying to figure nothing out on that because I don't have a clue what the hell is what with that. Just in case RG don't hop in, I was debating. We might have to do a coin flip here, as we were talking about time travel. Do we need to jump on over to X-Men, or do you want to dive into a little Avatar?
I'll follow you. I'll follow wherever you go.
Well, staying on the topic of time travel, bro, X-Men 97 is. I'm liking this season so much more. This show is really, really good. And now I'm a little scared for what the hell is going to be happening come season 3. We didn't even got to the end of season 2, and I'm like, oh God, what are they going to do with season 3? Because if we don't have the same people who did 1 and 2 doing 3, but I'm hopeful that it's the same team and they could kind of, the understudy knew the vision and was able to kind of keep that going. And since the team had already worked together and knew what the boss was asking for before he departed, or before he got sent packing, let me say that correctly. They were able to still pull off, and they can continue with the same kind of energy. But it's been interesting to see, like, in the previous season, we got to see Jubilee in a different light because we got to see an older Jubilee. So now that we're getting a more seasoned Jubilee that's hanging out with Cable, I believe that Jubilee can grow up to be the Jubilee we saw. You know what I'm saying? Mm-hmm. Like, it doesn't feel so far stretched now. And right. We see the relationship with Sunspot, the way that's taken off. We see the other characters that are, coming in. The intros they've done, it's been so much that they've done in these couple of, like in these 4 little episodes. I hadn't even watched episode 5 yet, but just in these 4 little episodes, they did so much and they gave us so much. And I cannot wait to get off this and go watch the next episode. It is pissing me off that it's a weekly episode thing and I got to wait a whole week each time.
Yeah. Yeah, I think that this could not have gone better for Marvel.
Yeah.
Like they could not have asked for anything better for a multitude of reasons. One, already existing property that you own, revitalizing it. You're not spending money developing the
Oh
IP.
man, now you scaring me.
Mark, don't
It
Mark. I wholeheartedly disagree with Mark, but I'm not gonna get sidetracked. I I feel like one, you're breathing life into an IP, not just that you own, but highly anticipated.
yeah.
There was a lot of pressure on this because for many of the kids who did not grow up on this show originally, this is actually a lot of kind of like all those people who weren't nerds like us growing up watching it. Some of those people who got into things based on the MCU, you know, this is kind of their introduction to not just X-Men, but the whole idea of like the world with mutants in it.
Yeah.
And it's introducing us to the characters, it's introducing us to the sentiment, it's introducing us to the politics, it's introducing us to everything that you would need to know so that if you made an X-Men movie that came out, or if a mutant shows up in Spider-Man or in any of these things, and somebody was like, what's a mutant? I don't have to send you all the way back to X-Men 92 and have you
Yeah.
watch through that and pretend like the animation is still up to snuff. We can start at X-Men 97, episode 1, season 1, and you will be caught up on everything you need to know about the world. Now, if you want to go back on your own, if you so choose, you can go back, treat it like a prequel.
Yeah.
But
And there's some
what
good stuff in there. There's
what
some gems.
and I think this season, even the small things in the storytelling where everybody's like, skip the intro, and it's not just because of the song, it's because every intro is different and it's
Every
telling the
intro is
story of the entire world that's happening so that it makes sense when Cable tells Jubilee, I trained you myself. He didn't just pick them up from the arcade and throw them into battle. You know what I'm
yeah.
saying? And we see what Morph went through with Mr. Sinister. We see like a visual representation of that. We see X Force. We see X Factor. We see like all these things that are making it seem like, okay, you're giving us flashes of backstory for people who, these are the Easter eggs of people who like know.
Yep.
And then for the people who don't know, it all becomes clear in the episode.
Yeah.
Not only that, y'all are smart enough, except for episode 5, this is the only episode that hasn't done this so far. The motherfuckers in the episode are the ones in the intro lineup. It's so helpful.
Yeah.
It's so helpful to watch the intro and be like, okay, so we're gonna, oh, because on episode 2 when the X Factor shit showed up,
Yeah.
I've watched that X Factor episode 4 times. I watched episode 5 and then I watched that episode before we started recording. Because I mean, I've seen 6, 7 seasons of all the other guys, but these are some of the guys who like I also grew up loving the character designs and the storylines and all that, where
Yeah.
we haven't spent a lot of time with the Cables and the X Factors, and even like you said, the way that they have shown Jubilee's ascension and evolution has been amazing. That fight scene with that whatever that little punk rock song she was listening to while she was beating everybody up.
Yeah.
That shit went crazy. And they're not shying away from the topical nature of things because that's what is at the heart of X-Men. And that's a worrying thing in today's time. Like, will people have the balls to actually apply the real world allegory information to the actual product, or are you just concerned about making money and putting out a cartoon so people can buy some action figures and some t-shirts.
Yeah,
So I think that um I mean, we can go in depth and talk about any of the episodes you want to talk about, but I think overall a lot of care. I This show has been made by people who care about X-Men,
very
and
much so.
I appreciate that as someone who cares about X-Men.
Yeah, I think you bring up a very good point to say that this works as an introduction to people who don't know X-Men. You can jump right in if you are a fan of the MCU. You can jump right in here and be all caught up, and you're not seeing anything that you can't understand. We got if you're an MCU person, all of the time travel and multiverse stuff we've had in that last little bit, you ain't seeing nothing that you can't figure out real quick.
Facts.
And because of that,
And it actually makes more sense than
I was
what the
about to say,
MCU did.
and because of that, it works very easily. We don't have to jump right in and try to get like a, maybe you didn't see Days of Future Past in the theater. Maybe you didn't see the movie on DVD. Maybe you haven't sat down with your Disney Plus and watched all the X-Men movies. If you jumped in with the MCU and now you're starting to learn about mutants and X-Men and things like that because you know it's coming or you've just recently heard about it and you're a huge Spider-Man fan and all the big buzz is who's going to be, you know, most people are fairly confident that Spider-Man Brand New Day is going to be the initial introduction to mutants. There's all kinds of speculation. I'm not getting into that part, but those people who are doing that research, who are leaning into that side of it, they're trying to get familiar with X-Men. They're trying to get familiar with mutants. And the fact, like you said, you don't have to go all the way back to the old television series. Because let me tell you something. It is 2026, and I got a 4K TV. Not one episode, not one episode looks good on my TV. And it's getting to the point where it's like, my kids are, so I've got two sons, and one of my sons, when I tell you, I don't mind buying this kid any game he wants, because you talk about somebody that's going to get their money's worth out of a game. This boy is still playing like he plays all the new stuff that he want to play, and he goes back and he plays all the old stuff, and he plays it over and over and over. And it's like, if I try to get him to sit down and watch one of these old shows, that ain't happening. But I'm like, but you can appreciate. I could, like, they watch the Goonies. I can't even watch the Goonies right now. It's a tough watch. And if it wasn't for the nostalgia that I have, remembering, being up with my cousin or, spending night parties and stuff.
Yeah, for sure. No, for sure.
And that's what's happening with this. So this nice, crisp animation. And I noticed, and tell me if I'm just like if I just thought I saw this or if this is actually what it is. They have that outline of the characters in the animation like they did in the Spider-Man thing we were talking about. Friendly Neighborhood Spider-Man.
Mm-hmm.
How those characters had like that like they were almost three-dimensional or something.
Mm-hmm.
Because they had like that very clear outline around the characters.
Yeah.
And see, RG would have caught us for that. But it's like these characters have a very distinct animation. And what's going on, Sneaks? And yeah, I saw that too. I didn't put that one up on the screen because we had a little bot come in and they always be trying to like help out. But long as they stay in the chat, that's cool. Give me that view, bot. Um, but it's like it's visually appealing. The information is interesting. The stories are phenomenal, and I think they are doing something with these characters that hasn't been done in a long time. They are giving the proper balance.
Yes, that's literally what I was going to say next.
They're giving the proper balance to the characters. This isn't like hell. There was an X Men cartoon. It was literally called
Wolverine and
Wolverine
the
and the
X
X
Men.
Men. I'm so glad Wolverine is taking a backseat in this series. He show
Episode
up and
5
do.
is a Wolverine episode, but
I was about to say he show up
it
and do
is
what he
a
need to do.
it's a classic Wolverine side quest episode, which
Okay.
is honestly the best way to showcase Wolverine. It's like Wolverine and the love triangle is cool. Wolverine on a side quest is cool. Wolverine trying to like help Rogue and Gambit that don't you show when the X-Men theme song start coming on near the end of the episode and it's time to fight, that's when you come back on these episodes. And I think, like you said, is the balance has been
We'll hit
such
the range.
a breath of fresh air because again,
Okay.
going back to the intro, you watch the intro and you can see probably who's going to be in this episode, except for episode 5. This is the first episode where it was just kind of the generic. These are the niggas in the X-Men, but the people in the episode, all you know who all these people are if you've watched the show before. But if you haven't watched the show before, they explain it and they get to the bottom of it, and it's such a what do I want to say? It has allowed me even to like characters more or less than I did before because everybody is three-dimensional. It's not just balancing like we showing everybody fighting, but it's balancing like we getting everybody's opinion. Like in the episode where episode 4, which was like the big banger last week,
Yeah.
where they're talking about who's going to make the decision on us going back, and they're all just like we can vote on it. So they're seeing themselves as like this is an equal opportunity thing. We don't there's no this is not a military thing where you're our boss, you're our leader, you do what we tell you to do. We all should have a say in whether or not we're going to go back or keep on this weird apocalypse thing. And we see Magneto take things into his own hands, right? Hearing what everybody's vote was, hearing what everybody's opinion was on how to deal with someone like Apocalypse, especially somebody like a Nightcrawler, especially somebody like a Rogue. I mean, we don't really get to hear Rogue's like thoughts that much. She's a
Yeah.
very but considering her powers, she has a lot of people swirling around in her head, and she has to be calm and very thorough, like level headed to maintain that balance, right? Like we saw the arc
Very much so.
of her like kind of losing it because the Carol Danvers like personality was trying to come forward and take over. And
Right.
um so even in hearing her speak, hearing her be affected this season like by the loss of Gambit, I think they've just done a good job of rounding these characters out and rendering them in ways where some of them in the original series were I mean, you even got like a good understanding of everybody in X-Force and why they were there and what their opinion on it was. And it's like this is not little kid shit. Like Archangel, he's like
Yeah.
he on smoke, bruh.
Yeah.
The way he yelled traitors, like that's real, bro.
Yeah.
I understand where I understand where you're coming from because you looking at people who posted me on your side and they rounding you up for the enemy, and they're not shying away from telling those kinds of stories. And the reality is a lot of I think a lot of like traditional superhero stuff is like, well, obviously, like, we're on this side of this. This is the good side, and that's the bad side. But I feel like with X Men, which is all why it's always been interesting to me, it's like this is the world. And every single individual person in this world has their own kind of way and philosophy of dealing with the world that they live in as a mutant. And sometimes those things align, and sometimes they don't align, even for people who are on the same team. So you have the internal conflict. What are they able to put aside in order to fight for the greater good? But then, are there people who have an alternative point of view? Like Magneto was evil in a lot of things, but what he wasn't wrong in the way that he assessed humanity's ability to live and coexist with mutants. But he was doing evil things in order to combat what he felt was an inevitable war, right?
Right.
If you are a Scott Summers, well, not a Scott Summers because he got word. If you're you know, let me think of some. If you're even if you're a Jubilee, right? You're
Okay.
just a regular looking person who has mutant powers. If you're a Bobby Drake, you're a regular looking person who has mutant powers, right? But if you're a Morlock,
Yeah.
what Magneto talking about is more impactful for you because you can't even go outside for real, for real.
Yeah.
So you understand the sting of humanity a lot more than some of the ones who are, wearing the big X suits and running out, and you know what I'm saying? Like, you got your beast, you got your, Wolverine, but it's like with Wolverine, it's like you just short, bro. Nobody know you a mutant until you fucking bring them claws out.
Right. And of course, I always think back to like it in the X-Men movie when Rogue, then Anna
Mm-hmm.
Paquin, Rogue is like, there's a cure, the way we can be cured. And then Storm, Halle Berry's character, is like, there's nothing wrong with you. And it's just like a goddess telling somebody who can't touch people,
Mm-hmm.
there's nothing wrong. No, there's
Right.
nothing wrong with you. There's
Right.
everything wrong with my ass.
Like you Halle Berry.
There's nothing wrong with you. Everything is wrong with me. And so there is, even within, and this is probably no different, but even within the mutant communities, there's still like tiers. And like you said, it's people who can walk outside and be normal. They could People who could pass.
Mm-hmm.
And then there's people who, you gotta be a mutant because look at you. Ain't
Yeah.
no way you not a mutant.
Right.
And if you're not a mutant, I don't like you because you look like that. You getting othered either way. And so, one of the things that's really come up lately, and I've just been seeing it on a lot of message boards, a lot of conversations, is of course, we got a new season of X-Men. So we got, everybody's back into X-Men mode. And it's a lot of discourse happen about what the X-Men mean, what they
Mm-hmm.
stand for. And of course, you've got one group over here that's quick to grab the interview Stan Lee did where he's like, yes, it's a perfect allegory for racism and the civil rights movement of the 60s.
Right.
Stan Lee is a hype man. He gonna jump on whatever
Yeah.
fails. I'm not mad at that. And guess what? There was a time when Superman couldn't fly, when all he could do was jump. But as the character evolved over time, things changed. And you know what? Maybe when the X-Men were first created, because if you look at that first lineup, how much
Yeah.
diversity was in that first lineup? So I truly believe that it evolved as it needed to, but because it evolved as it needed to, it evolved. And no matter what, even if we were just talking about mutants and they all looked one way, there was still the concept of otherness. And in this country, otherness finds its, it's visible in many forms. There's one that stands out pretty clearly, pretty clearly. So if there's, some people who can associate and, feel connected to that, you'd be a fool to jump in there and try to say that's not what it is. Like you don't want that to be what it is. If it does such a good job of representing and clarifying that. And the show is they've the very first episode, they jump right in and tackle that. And when Scott snapped on that in that first season, when Scott snapped on that reporter, you know what I'm saying? It's like it does a good job of showing that otherness to people who may not recognize it because they don't see it or know it or experience it. But they can look at these characters who might look like them on the show and see that they're being othered. It's like, well, okay, so he has to wear glasses. But I mean, other than that, he's a regular guy.
Right. Right. It's like not he has to wear glasses. Like if these motherfuckers fall off, it's gonna be a hole in the side of your house.
It's gonna be a hole inside of everything in that direction.
Right. And I think that's I think really honestly, like I think that's why I like X-Men so much and think it's so important that X-Men, like I think it's important that there's some sort of X-Men media in the zeitgeist at all times, because it's so easy for people to forget, and it's so easy for people to pretend like they don't understand. And I think modernizing it, updating it, I mean, I loved X-Men Evolution and how we set that in a regular high school. And so in the first couple seasons, they were, hiding in plain sight. Nobody knows that they're mutants. And then everything changes as soon as like they're outed as mutants. Right. And so you see that kind of approach in the early 2000s, where you see the allegory, a lot of the writers kind of shifted to be more in line with like the LGBT community, where it's like you out or not. The Morlocks were kind of like, I would say probably more of the transgender community, where you can't really hide your queerness in some ways, right? If you're trying to like live freely as possible, there are certain elements that can't and won't be hidden and will be visible, and you, in a way that might drive you to not be in the limelight of mainstream society, right? I don't want to be, and obviously the Morlocks is extreme. They get forced underground into like the sewers. I'm not saying like that's the experience that people have, but if you're talking about like an allegory, it kind of is like similar, like socially, right?
Yeah.
And I think that it is one of those stories where, how we talked about with Superman, where it's more important to get the spirit and the integrity of the characters right than all of the details about the story that you're telling in terms of the narrative itself, because the character of the spirit of the characters is what should drive the narrative. Like we're in this scenario, yes, in the comic books it was like this, but if we're going to modernize it, this scenario has shifted, this scenario has changed, right? So how do we want to represent this? X Factor, right? Yes, they worked with the government, but I don't remember when I was a kid it feeling so like mutants don't fuck with y'all because y'all work with the government. When I was a kid, it felt more like be a part of the solution, not the problem. And that's the angle they were looking at it. And it felt in some ways that it was like cool. Like there's some of us who are helping from the inside, and then there's some of us who are revolutionaries on the outside. And
Yeah.
it's that I'm working in the system so I can dismantle the system, brother. Like that's
Right.
and this was like, no, you guys are ICE.
Yeah.
And because the scenario is different now. Like you're showing me like you're hunting kids in the wood. Like because if you were a mutant that worked with the government today, that's what they would ask you to do. You know what I'm saying? It wouldn't be a like they would do all the propaganda, the this and the that and the third, but like they would also ask you to round up mutants and you would do it. Versus like a Captain America in the MCU where he's like, I'm not putting my name on shit. Like I represent me. I don't represent,
Republic.
you know what I'm saying? I'm not a tool of the United States government. And if
Right.
I need to put the shield down to my be who I need to be, then I'll put it down. So yeah, I'm excited to see how it goes. You know, I'm still waiting to see if my boy Gambit gonna show up and how and when, and you know, I'm assuming a horseman of the apocalypse, or maybe he's gone for real. And if so, hey, I've done my grieving, but I think I'm excited to see where it goes. You're talking about the difficulty of time travel stories. I think they've been doing a good job going across multiple eras. I mean, we're telling a story that spans three different eras,
Yeah.
50
We're
characters
doing
at this point.
past, present, and future
Right,
simultaneously. And
right.
it's easy to keep up and know what's what, where I'm at, and who's this and who's that,
Mm-hmm. Yeah,
you know?
yeah,
And yeah, Isaiah Bradley should absolutely have like just his own. There should actually be. I mean, you have what is it? Red, white, and black. You have the truth that exists. So I mean, you can definitely do that. Um,
man, they're
a
not about to show us no
full
black.
trilogy.
They don't even want us to have Anthony Mackie. That Anthony Mackie is the kind of Captain
Well, you
America they
see,
can give
you
us.
see how much Isaiah Bradley was in that. So I
Yeah.
mean, like that's yeah, that's about as close as we gonna get there. Um, yeah, I've definitely enjoyed everything in season one and everything I've gotten so far in season two. When I saw that the apocalypse part was going to be part one and part two, I skipped a week and didn't watch part one. That way I could watch the two episodes back to back.
Mm-hmm.
And I would have been okay to watch one and then the other. It would have been fine.
Yeah.
But I remember how them cliffhangers used to be back in the day when it was like to be continued and you felt like there was absolutely no closure and you had to come back same bat channel, same bat time. And it was different when it was like you catch it tomorrow.
Mm-hmm.
Now I'm not gonna catch this shit till next week. Don't let
Yeah.
me be busy or like be on a 6 day work week or something and not have Thursday off to sit down and watch it. It might be
Right.
Saturday before I catch. We're not doing that. So I'm gonna wait, watch both of these episodes when I have time, and I'm gonna be good. Um, Now, having some time to sit down, man, let's get into Avatar. I think I watched all of Avatar in 2 days.
Mm-hmm.
I really like this show. I really like this show. And this is one of those times where, like, much like One Piece, I don't watch the anime of One Piece.
Mm-hmm.
My boys, they've watched it. I think one of them is like current. He's watching the new episodes when they come out. I have one that's still like kind of catching up. I'm not trying to. There's nothing. There's no reason for me. I don't need the bragger rights of I've watched all thousand. Nope, I'm good. And admittedly, even what little I've watched from when they have it on, I'm like, how is this show the goat? Like, it's just not. as appealing to me. When Avatar, The Last Airbender used to come on Nickelodeon was probably not the show that stayed on in the house. I think at the time we was like, we was kind of a Cartoon Network family. And my daughter was a Disney kid.
Yeah, I'm a Disney channel. I was a Disney Channel.
And, me and my wife, we Gen Xers. So we was digging Cartoon Network. And even now, she's still every night that TV be on Cartoon Network when she go to bed. I'm like, how do you sleep to Family Guy? That would bother me.
Crazy dreams.
And so, I remember when Avatar: The Last Airbender came on, and because I'm just not trying to do all that. I watched a lot of episodes, but Avatar: The Last Airbender was not the show that had me glued to the TV. I was familiar with it. I mean, Disney's still kind of aight. Yeah, now classic USA Cartoon Express with wacky racers and everything old Hanna-Barbera. Yeah, that's where we at. I'm with you there. With you there, bro. I've seen a lot of Avatar. I have to admit, I have not seen all of Avatar. And I have made it a point. I'm like, I need to watch all of this. And there were originally 3 seasons, 4 seasons?
3 seasons, yeah.
3 seasons. And so I know book 1, and there was book 2, and then of course the final season was book 3, and that was they get into the Fire Nation, all that kind of stuff. Because I picked up so many random episodes and it's been out for so long, I'm very familiar, but I can't. There are things that I recall, stuff that's kind of become memes, and there's been so much conversation around Avatar over the years that I'm more familiar with it despite having not watched every episode. But I love this live action because I still feel like it gives me the feeling that the show did. I'm watching these kids, and now they're young adults, and they got to save the world. And that's a pretty heavy prospect when you think about it. And they covered something in this episode. And that was one of the things I really wondered, did that come through in the animated show? Did they really push and show it the same way to be the weight was there, that the weight of having to save the world was really sitting on Aang? You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, I mean, I think that was always that's always Aang always kind of in every season has an existential crisis. I think in the first season, and I mean even before the first season, his existential crisis is the pressure of being the Avatar. Period. Right.
Right.
It's immense. You're being asked to be the person that basically binds all the nations and the spirit world and the mortal realm. Right. For a child his age, that's a lot of pressure potentially.
Right.
In book 2, he's coming to terms with the fact that he has to he's coming to terms with the fact that he's going to have to stop the Fire Lord directly. There's not going to be a oh, I get the Earth King involved, the Earth Kingdom helps me fight back. This it's really it's me and my friends, and really it's me. And you're gonna and so in the third season you see a lot of that, and his crisis is I'm the one that's going to have to face the Fire Lord in order to stop this. That there's not going to be peaceful, and as a monk especially, there's not a peaceful diplomatic resolution to this. There's not
Right.
going to be a the Fire Lord sees the error of his ways, and you know what I mean. It's like
Yeah.
we're going to have to throw hands. And for most of the season, in season 3, he's wrestling with the idea that he's going to have to kill the Fire Lord. And if you've seen
Because
season
I
3,
do know that
you
he's a
see,
pacifist. And so even when he's
yeah,
fighting, it's always like
yeah,
non-lethal strikes and stuff like that.
yeah, yeah. And so it really is like him wrestling with the idea of that versus like the the Avatar has to kind of fight for people. And so you see him wrestling with and learning and evolving through all of those different things. I also think like book two is a different kind of book than book one. Book one is an adventure book. We're learning about these characters. We're meeting Aang, we're meeting Katara, we're meeting Sokka, right? We're seeing just how vast the Fire Nation's like uh hand and army has reached into the world, because you're encountering Fire Nation pretty much everywhere. But really, Book of Water it's a adventure, it's a journey, and it's about setting the Avatar on his journey to become the Avatar by um mastering the first element, which is water,
Right.
right? Book two, he's mastering Earth. It's a more difficult book because Earth and air are
Like
opposites.
opposites. Yeah.
So it's his hardest one to learn because it's the one that's opposite his nature. With the with that, it's like in having to learn how to bend Earth, it's almost like the also the symbolism of the storytelling is we're now in a place where we're not on the run, and
Right.
we're not moving constantly like season one. We're in one place. We're trying to figure out how shit works. Like, I'm the Avatar. I should be able to go to the king and be like, "Yo, my man, the Fire Nation is on its way, and they're gonna drill a hole in the wall. And there's all these levels of red tape that he
Yeah.
has to go through. That you just walking in and saying you're the Avatar doesn't necessarily get you what you think it does, because you've been gone 100 years.
I was about to say it should carry more weight, but they've gotten used to you not being there.
Right? You're a novelty, and
They're
even to
just
the point
parading
now
them
where
around.
so you have a city like Ba Sing Se, which is their approach. I mean, you have to start with the understanding that the story of Avatar is an anti-fascism story, right?
Okay.
So
That's
what
a
you
key
see,
element
so
to
what you
understand.
see in each season is resistance in season one. These are the tribes who are actively resisting. The Water Tribe, they are at war. They're
Yeah.
actively resisting. Season two is the people who, the poem, they came for this person, they came for that person, and when they came for me, it was nobody else.
Yeah.
The last people, that's Ba Sing Se.
Right. Because there is no
Because
war in Bossing Say.
exactly. And there's not. And they're not lying about it. There's not a war in Ba Sing Se, but it's coming to Ba Sing Se.
And by them
And
trying to pretend that there's not a threat out there because it's outside their walls, you know what? There's no problem. Everything is great.
right,
Everything is great. And they're just sitting there with their blinders on,
right. And then
leaving
season
themselves susceptible.
and then season three is infiltration.
Mm,
They're in the Fire Nation. They're, having to hide out. They're hiding in plain sight essentially, and they're trying to learn as much as they can so that they can infiltrate and do what they need to do. So there are these themes, but the main theme about it is how different cultures and how different people respond to the threat and the imminence of a fascist regime taking over. Will you fight back like the Water Nation? Will you pretend like it's not a problem and just build up a thick ass wall and think nobody can make it through when You got people who are power hungry who will let the enemy right in. They won't have to break through the wall.
Right.
And then do you have the courage to go into the heart of the enemy to learn and find and get what you need to get in order to take care of what needs to get taken care of to obtain your freedom? So I think with book 2, it really is a lot of world building because it's showing like it's showing that there are people who don't know what the fuck is going on, really.
Right.
Because of what everything that we saw in season 1. There's people like struggling. And so they tell a lot of the interesting stories. They got the story where, Zuko lives with the little farm family and helps them figure. That's a classic one. There's a lot more Zuko building because we're setting him up for book 3, right? In order for him to get his honor back. And, I don't know how familiar you are with book 3 of the cartoon. I don't want to ruin it or anything, but we find out some things about who he's related to on his mother's side and his connection to the Avatar and what his true purpose is and how he's really connected to Aang. It's not to actually kill him, but to essentially become part of Team Avatar in a very important capacity. So I
Because he's got to
think,
learn firebending also. It's one of the 4 elements.
yeah, I think that this season, I don't really listen to a bunch of people about this because I feel like a lot of people hear adaptation and they think, I want the cartoon exactly as is in live action. And we've talked about this before. When movies have done that, they've all been terrible.
Yeah.
I think that one of the biggest issues probably you're always going to have with trying to do a live action Avatar is the people growing up too fast. Like,
Yeah.
if you're going to do this, you're going to have to film all 3 seasons at one time for it to really make sense. Because by the time this kid come back, he's going to be like 25. He's going to be like grown. And
Hey, bro, this ain't what you want.
right. And
Right.
so you can make changes and you can adapt in certain ways, but I do think the youth of the Avatar and the youth of the people who are with him on his team Avatar, is also an important element to the storytelling as well, because people undermine him and not undermine people.
Manipulate and
They
take advantage.
no, they underestimate him because
Oh,
he's a kid,
underestimate. Well, that too.
and
But I mean,
so
it seems like and from what I
if a
saw here,
21-year-old Avatar shows up, you're not underestimating him. You're
right?
gonna assume he's been training, and you're gonna assume he's here to get busy. But when you see a
Yeah.
9-year-old, 12-year-old, you like, this little motherfucker who you've been chasing all across the world. But that's what everybody says when they see him. You know what I mean? So
Right. There's definitely some underestimation going on,
yeah,
and and again, it's just like because they're supposed to be kids, they're being treated like kids. It doesn't matter that he's the Avatar; he's a child, and
mm-hmm.
so seeing how some of those things they're logical fallacies in the story, like it makes sense that adults may not let this child do this thing.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I'm saying? Like you
Right.
go to this village and these warriors are about to fight, and you're like, I got it. And then they're like, you're the Avatar, go ahead. No, that's not what happens. People are like, get the women and children over there, put the kids back, and seeing that they don't believe he's capable until such time as he just has to get out there and do.
Mm-hmm.
Then it's like, okay. And you know what? I didn't take time to acknowledge you earlier. What's up, Pixelated? I see you here, man. And when we get ready to do our Avatar therapy, got to reach out. We got to talk because I think believe it was you that had to be on. Was it you? I have to go back and look and because I have the names written down. But this might be one of our guests for our therapy episode.
I'm with it.
Because we had somebody who actually had he had the 4 elements tattoo right there. It was actually pretty dope, and he's big time Avatar fan. So we're gonna have to bring him on. Um, but yeah, and yeah, this is definitely a good point right here. That it's kind of what we talked about earlier, as far as like you have to maintain the spirit, and as long as the same feeling and the same spirit is conveyed, you can you can shift some things around, you can change some things, you can condense, because sometimes that stuff has to be changed just because you can't physically do all the things you can draw. You can't physically do all the things that you put in a cartoon, you know what I'm saying? So it's like, and if you do them, sometimes they look ridiculous, and nobody wants to like look at stupid CGI just to make it the exact same. You know what I'm saying? And
I mean, I
so
think too is I think the way that I've kind of the way that I look at it is like this, right? Each iteration, like this is a legend, right? Quote unquote, which
right,
means that it's a story that is designed to come across like it's been passed down for generations. Like, we wrote this,
look,
some of the
little
scrolls,
embellishment here and
right?
there.
We got Hercules, Heracles, this, and all the mythology type stuff like that, right? So it's like if one person is telling the story of the legend of Avatar, the legend of Aang, they might tell the story that ends up being the animated version, right? But if somebody
Okay.
else who is around that same time tells the same story, their story might fit more with like the live action, where there's things I think that they've done a I think that they did a better job, honestly, on this season of showing why Toph rejected her like family's
Yeah.
money and everything. I think they did that a lot better on the show and in a lot more complete way on the live action show than in the cartoon. Because it's a cartoon, it's for kids, it's supposed to be funny and lighthearted. We're not gonna spend a whole bunch of time on mommy issues. But the grown up audience on the Netflix with the live action, who's more mature, who can handle more of that subject matter, or might be interested in expounding on that subject matter more, we can put that in the live action. We're showing a show about basically kids at war. Like some of the jokes, it's not going to be as jokey, wacky, wacky like
The mommy issue.
the original cartoon. You know what I mean? And I think I agree with the massacre of the Airbenders in season one. I think was a great choice. I think the way that they handled the library was way it was like different, but in some ways makes a little sense. Their homeboy like snitching on them
Right.
versus them just getting caught by the owl
Mm.
is like a different thing, right? Because now we've this like you might be this dude like if I was Katara, right? I might just be remember because I always kind of thought of the cartoon as from Katara's perspective. If I'm because she does the intro, so if I'm Katara, right, and I'm remembering us being in the spirit library and doing all this, I just remember that we got caught by the owl. But if let's say the live action version is more from Sokka's point of view, right? We saw Sokka develop a friendship with the professor, and they were, you know what I mean. I feel like in the original, he was just some dude that they randomly met, and he knew some, and they was just changing information. They just decided to help each other, but showing that it's like a person who was their friend and then betrayed them, and you know what I mean. I feel like that was an interesting change that doesn't necessarily make the story not make sense anymore.
Yeah.
Um, I think some of the commentary around it is unfortunate, commenting on like the weight of the young ladies on the show. I mean, we don't even have to get into a whole bunch of detail on that, but I just feel like stuff like that is partially why too sometimes it's hard to be critical because you end up in the same boat as like dumb people who are making those critiques versus like really critiquing the impact and the information in the show. Season 2 for me has so many changes to the characters and the structure of the story for me to be able to enjoy it. That's just me. I understand that. I think it was different. I think, Sam and I talked on the show a lot, and I'm all for just like, I'm always gonna just be like, I'm gonna just watch this for what it is, and if is it good or not, rather than how close
Right.
is it to the adaptation. Because the M Night
Right.
Shyamalan stuff looked great, and the movie was trash, and they and a
Ong.
lot of
You didn't like the one with Ong?
man, man, I don't know what that man was on. That like that felt it
It felt
that
personal. You still, I know. Look, we already know
not
on
even it
site.
felt not even it felt personal. It's just more like when you the more you learn about how much it takes to make stuff, it's like how did this get through so many channels of communication, and
Yeah,
like how
yeah.
how did this
Objectively
happen?
good or bad, and then yeah, yeah. And I think this is a good example of that, where it's
Yeah,
like this
M
should
Night
not have
Shyamalan
been,
was bad.
it should not have been greenlit. No, 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 no. He's agreeing. We're agreeing
No,
with you
no, no,
here.
no, no.
Yeah,
She's no, they agree with me. Yeah. So I feel like Avatar. I'm interested to see.
well, he
Yeah,
called it all out. He called it all out
I
now.
mean the earth bending in here so much better.
Yeah,
The metal, like even like the metal bending and just every. I don't know, man. There was a lot of stuff that I saw that I was like, this feels good. I like this. And I think some of the changes for me, I think really were more about this is not a cartoon. So we're gonna focus more on this than that. Like I appreciate that they focused on like people disappearing in the city. That was kind of glossed over in the show a little bit, but it was more of a thing. I appreciate them showing the like firebenders who didn't agree with what the Fire Nation was doing, so they chose to live in poverty in the Earth Kingdom than be firebenders or whatever. To me, that's the kind of stuff too, where it's like I can combine that with what I watch in the show and be like, I'm building an entire lore world, kind of how with Star Wars, right? You watch the movies, you read the
yeah,
books, you watch the cartoons, and then you can piece a lot more of the worlds together by connecting the lore. I do think that it's an issue with I am hoping that Avatar does not, and this is really a conversation for the therapy too. I'm worried that they're going to get stuck in just recreating Aang stuff when one of the interesting things about Avatar is all the different people who hold the mantle, right? How it gets transitioned and passed down. And I think the chorus seasons got a lot of unfair criticism. I don't think it's as bad as people thought that it was. I think that she was just a very different character than Aang, and but all of the avatars are different. Aang was not like uh, is it Roku, Roshi, whatever. I forget which one it is. I wrote something. He wasn't like Kyoshi. He wasn't like, you know what I'm saying? He wasn't
yeah,
even like the previous Airbender avatar that came before him. But I think fans fell in love so much with that original avatar that Korra was so different. It focused on a different part of life where Korra was like a young adult, like a teenager, young adult, like really like living out on her own. There was a lot more complications with like the love interest. Like Katara had like a couple where it's like, okay, yeah, we thought Jet for a little bit, but he was evil. People wanted her and Zuko to get together or whatever, but everybody knew at the end of the day it's gonna be Aang. If it's anybody, it's gonna be Aang, right? That was very
right.
clear watching the cartoon. I think with Korra, it being, so some of the interpersonal stuff was a little bit messy and awkward. And they were trying to do the fan services showing us where these characters we love now are. And I agree with this comment too. Korra was overconfident, and I think that there was an expectation that humbleness is something that comes with being the Avatar, and it's not. Aang was humble because he was a monk,
Right.
but because we never saw him with any other monks, we didn't see that the humbleness is part of that culture. We saw it as the humbleness was part of him being the Avatar,
Right.
and it's not,
Because
because Kyoshi was not humble.
every time I've seen Avatar Kyoshi, she don't seem humble at all. She
And I
looked
thought
like
that
she
was an
with the shit
interesting thing that they
constantly.
did in the library, where they were reading the text and the spirits of the avatars are coming and talking to them.
Yeah,
That wasn't in the
because
show.
I was about to say the Avatar was the only one who was able to connect with the
Hmm.
ancient spirits of the Avatar. So Toph having the conversation, or Toph having the conversation with Kyoshi, they weren't the ones that had that talk, and it was Roku who told them about the comet, not
Hmm.
not Sai. And Sai is a character that was Sai even like a character like that, or was he just like kind of popped in, popped out?
The professor.
No, the
Well, hold on. Sai. Who's Sai?
Sai is Abed. I don't
Oh, yeah, 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 yeah. He was in season 1 when they first went to Omashu, and he was on the train when they
uh-huh.
went into Ba Sing Se, I think. But I don't think that they did like a whole bunch of like follow up with some of those people after they got into the city. It was a lot of like, we're trying to see the king. We're really focused on the learning earth bending
Right.
thing, because it was really a struggle for Aang for a long time.
Because he really
It
thought he was
was,
just gonna go in, go see his homeboy
yeah,
Boomy
yeah,
and learn earthbending
yeah.
and be good.
And it was a lot of trying to find Appa. That was a big thing. And then there was a lot of Zuko um, helping on the farm when Zuko comes back, and there's a whole arc with Jet in the cartoon where Jet suspects that Zuko is a firebender. He like sees Zuko like heat up like a pot of tea or something, and he's just like basically going crazy, like trying to get people. And that's really where Jet ends up leaving the cartoon. So Jet wasn't at the library with them
Mm.
in the cartoon.
Which is probably why, that was a good way to let him have his redemption, if you will. But at the same time, he's an expendable person at this point.
Right. But it's also like, that's a big change, because if
I'd be
you
very
telling
confident.
if
Yeah.
if we both telling the story, and you like Jet got dragged away by the Dai Li because he thought Zuko was a firebender, and you like Jet died in the in the library, and we might have to put down the henny and get to the bottom of who
Like, wait,
truly
okay,
has
wait.
the
So where
actual
was the
right
last
story.
place you see him? Because
Yeah,
I had seen him when he was, yeah, that got to do the math on that.
but I also could see you, if you 75 years old telling the story, not thinking about, if you Aang,
Yeah.
you might be like, man, that nigga wasn't there.
You know what? It was just me and my friends
Yeah,
because he had a crush on my girl, and we don't talk about that dude because I'm not finna dirty Mac, but Jet
yeah.
wasn't there. Like,
I look at it. The way I look at it is like this: no matter, there was a different path to get to where we got to, but I do think that like where we ended up is very much in line with where we end up at the end of season 2, which is Team Avatar fleeing Ba Sing Se as the Fire Nation takes over. Zuko and Iroh at odds with one another, with Iroh being going to prison,
All right.
and Zuko kind of reestablishing, trying to take his steps to reestablish himself within his family and regain his honor that he lost. And with Aang having lost at this moment lost connection to the other avatars and unable to um, go into the avatar state. I mean, at the end of the day, that's where you have to get to by the end of the season. Um, I think everybody grew. Everybody socially and character wise was in the right places, right? You have Katara, right, at the end of season two. She's got to be overly concerned about Aang and focused on healing him. She's got to be at odds with Zuko because the whole will they, won't they thing can't be a thing anymore because they've had too many instances where she's talked to him. They've had the one on one, and he looked like he was going to change, and then he did something to like hurt her and be at odds. Sokka is coming into his own as an inventor and a strategist. So they're retreating, and you saw him kind of growing in that way a lot more this season. I think part of that was part of his relationship with Abed, I don't be no
Sigh.
Sai, and
Yeah.
that was part of his relationship with the professor who snitched on
Right.
him. Toph has broken free of the need to please her family. Um, and she's invented metal bending, which is a super crucial part of her character arc. Zuko's going back, like I said, he's going back to be with May. Um, what's her name? Azula has now. She's doing what she do. She's conquered Ba Sing Se.
Yeah.
Like she's done what no other fire bender could ever do, and she needs to be in a position where she's done that. And when she goes back to her father, it's not going to be enough. And you know what I mean? Like
Yeah.
she has to be at the place where I did it all, and it wasn't enough because season three is all about her going crazy. So I will say the
We see
season three
those little
episode I'm looking forward to the most.
sprinkling of cuckoo now. She
Yeah,
kind of like
for sure. For
twitch out a
sure.
little bit.
For sure. And it was always there, but you start seeing it start to unravel for sure, for sure. And I think they've also done a very good job of setting up the Fire Lord and who he is, how the Fire Nation works, what it's going to feel like. So, you know, I'm excited to see if and how they finish it.
Yeah.
I think that once we finish with this and this live action and this cartoon movie comes out, I'm just I'm I mean, we got to talk about it on therapy because there's a lot.
Okay.
There's a lot going on with it, but for this season of this show, I think it was judged. I think it's been judged pretty harshly, understandably harshly. But I think it's been. I think it's been. I think part of it was season one was so satisfying that
Hmm.
this season was a little eh. But when you think about it, this season of the cartoon is also a little eh. It's got its highs and its lows, but this season like actually lost a lot of people until they went back and binged it to catch up for season three when they're in the Fire Nation.
Yeah.
Because a lot of it is quiet and the secrets and the daily and how can we the bureaucracy, how can we see the king, and we're opening a tea shop, and it's just kind of stuff where
Yeah.
we was like last year, man, we was on an adventure, we was flying from city to city, we was beating people up, we was freeing people, we was helping this and that, and here it's like our hands are tied, we can't do shit. Like everything that we thought we was like, we had a great freshman season, and then we came back sophomore year, and we was just getting locked up by everybody. You know what I'm saying?
I mean, I think one of the biggest issues I think people have, or well, it's not an issue people have, but it's a problem that people don't account for a lot of times. And we were kind of talking about it earlier when it comes to adaptations and things like that. And Avatar is like 20 episodes, 20 like 20,
Mm-hmm.
22 episodes seasons. And so
Mm-hmm.
if you have 3 seasons, that's 60 episodes at
And
20 minutes a pop.
even if you wanted to be fair, because the episodes of the live action are like an hour, so
Right.
even with that, it's like there's at least 12 episodes. 12, like you would have to do 12 episodes of a live action to get an equivalent runtime of one season of the animated
Exactly.
series.
And so it's that condensing, and that's where some things shift because we can do this story. We just have to put them in this spot instead of that spot.
Mm-hmm.
Now you have somebody because if I'm not mistaken, of course I had to do my little research because I don't know everything from the animated, but apparently like the dragon and the painted lady
Yeah.
wasn't in this season. It didn't take place here. And so it makes sense that they're in this town. They want to help people. And here's an opportunity for them to help. So they do what they do. It gives you an opportunity to get them caught up, put them face to face, have another will they, won't they moment, and then give the heel turn opportunity for Zuko. So it's still well structured when you watch it for the show. When you watch it with a comparison in mind, there's going to be times where you're just going to be disappointed because it's not what you expect or remember, and sometimes that becomes a detraction. And take it from the take it from the Superman fans. Sometimes you just got to watch the shit on screen and enjoy that, you know, because my adventures with Superman is just doing whatever the hell they want to do with these characters, and it's working out really well. So if
Yeah.
Netflix continues to do what they want with these characters and they continue to do well with these characters, then I'll support it and I'm with it. And what I've seen so far, I like. I like season one. I like season two. And since I don't have the same frame of reference to be like, oh, they changed so much, I'm just like, oh, this shit made sense to me. I can see what was happening.
Yeah.
I
I
can see
mean,
what
yeah,
was
it's
going
like
on.
that's how I was with like Halo.
Right.
I think it's a lot of things. A lot of times too, it's like what I think I've reminded myself of. I think the Michael Jackson movie really is what reminded me of this. I might not be the target audience, even
Mm,
as a fan of Avatar. The live action Avatar is not just for fans of the Avatar animated series. It
right.
is to also bring in a new audience, people who don't like cartoons but like kung fu shows, people who just watch whatever comes up on Netflix, but they're not about to watch 3 seasons of
I
cartoons.
I was let me see, how can I, you know what? I can't explain this without revealing more than I ever choose to reveal on the show, but I was somewhere the other day and I was quite shocked by who I saw watching live action Avatar. They was watching on Netflix, and I was just like, didn't think you was gonna be watching that. And they was telling me how much they enjoyed it. They liked the last season, and of course, of course now I'm like, okay, well maybe you a grown ass geek, so let's talk about it. Is this your thing? And like you
Yeah.
said, nope, ain't never watched a cartoon, not nothing. Don't.
Mm-hmm.
But Netflix was recommending it,
Mm-hmm.
and of course it was like, based on here's something else you might like. And of course, Netflix, they recommend the shit they want you to watch.
Yeah. Yeah.
It's less about, because I promise you their algorithm is not correct for me.
It's like you watch this black sitcom about a mom and a daughter. Here's this black show about selling drugs in the inner city.
you know
You might like this. I might I?
and so it's like the algorithm be way off. But and dude was literally like, it recommended, it said it was something he might like, and he was watching it. And the episode he was on was the episode where Zuko was at the farmhouse fixing the
Mm-hmm.
roof. So I mean,
Mm-hmm.
my man was deep.
Yeah.
he was into it, and he was like, "Yeah, it's a good little show, and I like it." I was like, "All right, that's what's up." And again, it's just
And we
uh,
just are in that world where our first instinct is to preserve the
I was
purity
about to say to
because,
protect.
yeah, because we've seen how corporations treat these things. They're just cash cows. I mean, the Paramount, the Paramount merger and all that shit like that, that doesn't give me any
Oh
sort of excitement in terms of what I
yeah,
think they're going to do in terms telling like anti-fascist stories. But I think that it really is one of those things where you have to not get so guarded that you are boxing out the people who you actually do want to come in. Because the more people who like the Avatar live action show, the more chance you're going to get another animated project. The more people who like, whoa, and I don't know what happened. I think Sam is. But I'll just keep going. The more people who like the animated stuff, there's a better chance of getting the live action thing. The only reason the live action thing got made was because people were watching the animated show. So it's all cyclical. It all works together. It all is important. Box out the people who are there to do the IP harm and to do the communities harm. People who enjoy something, maybe you can come back and bring it in, and if they enjoy something about it that's kind of like, we can redirect, right? We can direct people to the comics are actually really good. Like, so if somebody likes
yeah,
comics, the Avatar comics are actually really good, and they tell a lot of backstory and a lot of like lore, especially about Zuko and his mother and all that stuff like that. So
right.
it
Which we just got
really,
that little glimpse of. So I was like, "Ooh, is that going to be like some Endeavor and his mama? I mean, not Endeavor, but Endeavor and his wife, Todoroki, and like how they interact." That's getting into the My Hero, but she also had powers, and obviously, if she's married to the Fire Lord, who wasn't the Fire Lord at the time, because find out that Iroh was actually next in line, but
mm-hmm,
he looks like he had a breakdown when his son died in Ba Sing Se,
mm-hmm,
and so then Fire Lord actually jumped in and like snaked it out, and Iroh was just kind of like, whatever, I don't even care. And
yeah,
so, who was she? Like, she might be an interest. So yeah, that would be being redirected to additional content that's out there is always a plus. And you know, I for one am always a fan of like, if you like this, then perhaps you might like this also.
yeah. I think for me, I am very into. I think because I was so invested in like the interpersonal relationships of the characters and like just like the ending of the show. I've told many people this. The reason why it's my favorite animated show of all time because they stuck the landing in every
Mm,
way. Every storyline for me in the animated series wraps up absolutely perfectly. And it made me sad that I was not going to really see anything else with these characters again because I knew it was like the story was done.
gotcha.
This story was done. And then I knew if they do a show with another Avatar, that means Aang's not alive. So when Korra comes around, you're seeing some of these nostalgic characters, but you also are kind of like, dang, Aang would, but they do a good job, I think, in Korra of in interspersing stories of like, Aang's kids are a part of it, so they're telling stories about Aang and all the stuff to Korra, and Korra does talk to Aang through the spirit, the Avatar like kind of lineage thing,
Right.
but I
The spirit
was,
stairs.
yeah. So I'm really, and that's why I'm really interested in seeing this animated movie because there's some stories in there that I'm just interested to see like how this group turns out like as adults and not just in the like the ghosts of the past as adults, and some people are not with us, and but
Right.
like you guys now have the responsibility of putting the world back together. How does that work between the moment that you defeat the Fire Lord and the when we pick up on Korra?
Gotcha.
But I think that
Because there's a nice little age gap between Korra and the people that we come across. Because, like you said, the only way a new Avatar comes along is the old Avatar's
yeah,
not there
I
anymore.
mean, Aang's kids are like in their like 40s and 50s in
Yeah,
the in Legend of Korra. Like they're not like
yeah. Toph is a little old lady, so I mean,
yeah,
she's still
yeah,
badass, but she a little old
yeah,
lady.
Katara too. So
Her kids are grown, you
yeah,
know, so it's like, and yeah, like you said, not grown, not just like they 20s. I think her daughter was
their daughter, yeah, they grown,
because she was like,
grown.
hell, I ain't seen my daughter in 20 plus years. So that she had to be like in her 40s.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I think that
Top said,
they've
I ain't
done a
never seen my
decent.
daughter.
Hmm,
She's so crazy. I like
I think
I like the character that the actress they have who's playing Toph in this because I her delivery of those jokes comes with the right kind of deadpan
hmm
that feels like that's how Toph talks. Like
yeah,
she's so nonchalant about it. Like you make it a big deal that she's blind. She
yeah,
knows she's blind.
yeah,
It's a problem for you, not for her.
yeah. The scene where they're at the like dinner table, and Aang's trying to like convince her to like teach him how to earth bend, and she's like just like fucking him up under the table with like little pebbles and stuff is like super good.
Yeah.
And I think like the strength of Avatar was always Team Avatar. Like yes, it was a lot of it was cool. The effects were cool. The fighting styles and the all that was it's amazing and it's wonderful. But I feel like the strength of the show has always been the chemistry between the characters, how those relationships morphed and shifted due to the severity of the circumstance that they were placed in at the time. And so
Right.
I think that they have gotten the balance right on that. So I'm not really worried about a season 3. I think if a lot was changed and if again like I understand like if stuff was changed and it bothered people, it didn't really bother me because like I said, it I feel like we ended up where we needed to end up with all the characters. But season 3 will be interesting. it's it's a lot going on, and it's a lot of shit where it's like, how are you going to pull this off? And we can talk about some of that in the therapy episode because I don't want this to have any spoilers for anybody who is only watching the Netflix show. But
Gotcha.
season 3 has some things that are interesting and I think are very fascinating, and I'm interested in how they will approach them. The only thing that I will say is there is an episode in season 3 that's kind of like a recap episode where they go to a play and they watch a play in the Fire Nation. The play is like basically a propaganda, anti-Avatar propaganda play that they're sitting in the audience watching. And I mean, it's hilarious. Like Toph is played by like this super muscly dude, and it's like the story is right, but they've changed it in certain ways in the team Avatar, and there's like puppets and all that stuff. So
Right.
I'm really curious as to how they'll convey if and how they'll convey that in in the show. But yeah, it was I think they put in like a lot of Easter eggs, and I enjoyed it. It was cool.
I enjoyed it, and I even had to tell the wife a couple times. I'm like, I don't know everything about this show, most times you just know I'm an encyclopedia and just be see that right there. This was the time I was like, we were just sitting there watching it. And I was like, I have no idea. But and I even referenced her. I told her, I was like, you know what, this is gonna be great because I'll get to watch this. And if Jeff doesn't like something, I can just be like, well, I thought it was great because I didn't watch the show and I just watched what was on the TV. Remember when you saw Halo and I hate it? That's
Yeah,
what this is like for me. And and again, it's I have many reference points. Like I get some of the things. My cabbages,
yeah,
like some of the things that are in there. Um, I knew about the moon girlfriend, but I also kind of was like, he is really taking that hard when he like, okay, so where's his where's his relationship going here? Because doesn't he end up here? Or and so of course, like not knowing how that goes, was like maybe he did take it a little harder than I thought. Okay. Um I was a you know, I like the dynamic between the characters on the show. It does seem believable. Um they have this cast has good chemistry together, and they kind of put me in the mind of the characters on the show where like they seemed happy together, and we get the same kind of like personalities, and they do such a good job of conveying the personalities that I feel like those characters had in the animated. It makes it it makes it feel like it's supposed to, and that of course allows me to keep up and enjoy. And since I did not watch every episode and I am not an Avatar expert, it's very reassuring to watch this and it feel familiar even to me.
yeah,
And that keeps it enjoyable, and it allows me to just enjoy the story that's being told. And if I'm able to keep up and talk about it and talk about the story and the good parts and the bad parts, and hey, I think they've done a good job with that. So I will look forward to. I will probably do a little bit more hosting for the therapy episode, and depending on when you record it, I may just sit and play production for you and get all the right shifts and that sort of thing because limited on contribution, but I know how to interview. I know how to ask the right questions and shit. So we'll make it happen either way. But no man, this is a missed last week and didn't get to really get into a lot the week before because hell, I had to do that Supergirl review and that was so damn disappointing. Um,
I still ain't seen it. I think that'll be a. I lost. I was excited to see it when I first saw the trailer, and as it approached closer and closer, I was like, eh.
I mean, I'm getting to the point where since I am beginning to we make it a little bit of a name for ourselves because I'm actually getting email invites directly from promoters now. I got I got a direct invitation for Moana and couldn't go because I got it the day before. I
Right.
was like, damn, I would have gone to that. I would have taken my daughter to that because it was being hosted by Portia Williams. And my daughter was like, oh my God. It was like, yeah, if I could put your name, you know what? Just got to wear a shirt. Like, you got to wear this Grown A Geek shirt. I'll make it happen. But no, but like I'm getting to go to a lot more premieres and that sort of thing. And that was a big selling point for me was I got to go and see it at a premiere and go watch the review. I didn't hate the movie, but it wasn't. Yeah,
Man,
it's all good.
when it come on HBO, I'll watch it.
And you know what's going to be crazy when it comes to HBO? It's going to be one of those things that you see like that's just what all the headlines come up the same now. This 90-minute so and so movie is dominating streaming. Like
Yeah,
because it's basically free at that point. Like, I don't think these companies understand. Like, if I'm paying $7.99, $6.99, $5.99, I don't think it's too many people out here with the $20 Netflix subscriptions. You know what I'm saying? And so as a result, most people are paying like, something reasonable, or they using their brothers or their cousins or whatever. Once it's on streaming, that's like free. That's on TV. Whatever that subscription that comes out monthly, people get their little notices of the increase, and so few people change it because, you know, like, don't act like streaming ain't a luxury now. If you streaming, you
Yeah.
so when it comes to streaming, it's basically free. And that's, so of course people will like take some. I'll watch it then. I'll watch it when it comes to stream. When it's on HBO Max, I'll watch it then. You still paying for it technically. They're not getting the same cut as if you had gone to the theater. But I digress. Nonetheless, not going to talk about Supergirl. We did that already. Go check that review if you dare. But no, tonight we had an opportunity. We got a chance to talk about my adventures with Superman. We got a chance to talk about X-Men 97 season 2. And we have covered Avatar. Light covering. We like, it was kind of a spoiler free, but I mean, we talked about what was there. We've talked about the entire season because it's already out. We are going to do a deep dive on Avatar here coming up. We have a special episode of Therapy that's going to be covering Avatar: The Last Airbender, and that, of course, that includes Legend of Korra as well. So anything that is Avatar: The Last Airbender will be covered in that episode of Therapy. I want to thank all of our guests who were in the chat tonight. Pixelated Owl, I will be reaching out to you, Mr. Akabulin, my man. I appreciate it. Thanks for love. Thanks for hanging out with us. We had Mark the Beast. Always good to have you on. Al from Hobie Comics. Like, y'all keep this up. Y'all keep this up. We'll just sit and talk with y'all all night. It's good. Because me and this guy, we'll talk as it is. But it's been a day. It's been a time. We thank you for joining us. Be sure to tune in next week. I have no idea what we're going to talk about, but I'm sure it's going to be fire because we always have great discussions. But that's going to do it for tonight. That's Jeffrey, JP, and T17. I'm Early Geek Sam, and we are out of here.